Hi, welcome to this week's Dragonblade Authors Unplugged. We've got a full house. I love it when we've got a full house. We've got Arden Conroy, Matilda Madison, Laura Strickland, and Melissa Kendall with us today. Ladies, thanks so much for taking the time to talk to us.
Thanks for having me.
So we're going to jump right in with Arden's book because there are so many books to learn about. And it is How to Charm a Duke, and it's book 1 in the Honeyfield Heart series. Can you tell us a little bit about the book and also about the series, since it's a brand new series, Arden?
Sure. So the Honeyfields are a family. They're a baron, his wife, and their 3 children. They're a theater family, and the mom, the baroness, was a actress.
Okay.
So there was this whole big scandal of her and the baron getting married. So because of that, they kind of have a shaky reputation, and the behavior of their children does not help with that. So the first book, How to Charm a Duke, is their youngest story, Julia. Julia and Nathaniel, who is a duke, kind of go head to head because her father gets stuck with a textile mill that's failing. And the Duke used to own it. And there was this whole wager thing, and the Baron lost, so he gets stuck with it. And she's like, this doesn't sound very good to me. Should we look into this a little bit? And he's like, I'd rather go party, so you can figure it out. So she's like, fine, I guess it's up to me. And she digs into the records and actually discovers that Nathaniel still owns the land that the mill sits on. So there's this little thing there, and he's like, what? I thought I was rid of this. So they go on this road trip up to Manchester where the mill is. And yes, and if anyone has ever been on a road trip, you know that they don't usually go very smoothly. So there's these 2 people who start out as enemies, go on this road trip. All the things that could possibly happen to ruin it does. But strangely, despite them being very different from each other, they actually grow close as they maneuver these difficulties on their trip. One of the interesting things about this series, so the textile mill has women workers, and they are organizing to unionize. So that's kind of a little
extra coolness.
Yes. So that's something that goes across the series. So the Honeyfields are this fun-loving, party-going family. They like the theater, they like the opera, but at the same time, there's these women who are unionizing and kind of like clashing with that.
I love everything about this.
Yeah. So that's pretty much the gist of it.
And so we're going to get the sibling stories as well?
Oh, yeah. Yep. So book 2 is Helen, and book 3 is their older brother, Evander, who is currently missing under mysterious circumstances.
Oh, well, we're going to have to find him before he gets his happily ever after.
Yeah.
I know, that sounds like so much fun. I love the premise of the series. It sounds like so much fun. Awesome. Well, the next book that comes out this week is Matilda's book, and it's a Lion's Den book, and it's To Love a Lion. Can you tell us about this one?
Yeah, just real quick, that family sounds amazing. I'm very excited about that series. Yeah, To Love a Lion is follows Louisa Babcock. She and her sister Kitty are they're poor daughters of a impoverished land gentry kind of. They're not up on the scale, but she has this brooch, and it's a brooch that her grandmother picked up during a ball 50 years prior, and she was like, well, this is my good luck brooch, but it just brings bad luck. And Louisa figures out that the madam who runs the Lion's Den is the owner, so she goes to return it, and the owner is oh my god, Bessie. And this is my first Lion's Den book, so but Bessie, who is the widow of Whitehall, is very much like, oh, thanks for the brooch. By the way, I'm going to get you married off immediately. And even though Louisa didn't want any of that, but we have our hero, Lieutenant Reese Carlisle, who is a hero from the Napoleonic Wars, and he's partially deaf. And he's looking for a wife because he's going to get the Order of Bath. And Queen Victoria is very much like, showing her sons, like, do you see, look, this guy, you should be more like him because he's going to get married and you all need to get married. So he and Louisa play the Swans game. They're immediately married and they travel north to his impoverished estate, and it's a very slow, sweet romance. It's shorter. My hero is not like my other heroines. He doesn't have a lot, I mean, he has baggage because of the war, but he's like honorable. So all of my other guys are usually got issues, but or have issues. But yeah, that's pretty much it without, ruining everything. But
Oh, I love it. I love it when they get married and then they have to fall in love afterwards.
Yes.
Like that's my favorite. It's like, because you get like pin them together and then you watch what happens when you pin them together and see.
And they're so like perfect together, and they don't realize it immediately because they're both pragmatic too. They're both like, well, this is, we'll just do this because it's the best chance we both have. And then it gets wonderful. So
It's wonderful. I love that so much. So what was it like to write in the Lion's Den?
I was actually very nervous because there's a lot of books. I think there's like
Mhm.
109 in the series. And so I was panicking a little bit because I couldn't read 109 books before then. I'm under a lot of deadlines right now. So
109 books, even for somebody who's just sitting around eating cookies, is a lot of books. So
yeah, exactly. And like there's not enough hours in the day. But I read a couple. I really liked them. I was very nervous though about portraying Bessie, the widow of Whitehall, because she's such like a central and beloved character. But according to the reviews, it's okay. So
yay. That's fantastic. We're doing a Lion's Den Kickstarter. I've talked about this like for months and months and months, but it ended up being a lot more work than I thought it was going to be to get it all set up. But it looks like we'll be able to launch in May or June for the anthology this year. So I'm been very immersed in all things Lion's Den-y. So
yeah,
about the stories. And Bessie Dove Lion's story is coming. Catherine wrote it.
Oh, really?
Wrote the origin story. So we're gonna launch it with the Kickstarter because I figured that would be the easiest way to get everybody to pay attention to the Kickstarter, because everybody wants to know how Bessie Dove Lyons became Bessie Dove Lyons. So we finally have that story too.
That's awesome. Oh, I'm so excited.
Yeah, I'm like, and oh my goodness, the graphics. I'll start teasing out the graphics here as soon as I'm sure I have a handle on everything, because the covers are so gorgeous. It's so like Art Nouveau-y, like just beautiful edition. So it's going to be fantastic. And Dar did the artwork, so
Dar's fantastic. Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, I'm excited for your first Lion's Den book, and I love a hero who's not always terrible.
Yeah, a good guy is hard to find. That's why I rarely read them. But
kind of nice that way.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, the next book that came out this week is Winter's Rose. And it's E.L. Johnson's book, and it's book 4 in the Winter Murders. So this is a slow burn, same couple the whole way through this series. Think Miss Scarlet and the Duke, but set in medieval times. So you wanna if you're reading it, you wanna grab it. And I think Erin is in the book club this week, or in one of the other Dragonblade things. So I'll put a link in the comments so you can go hear from her directly there, and we'll catch up with her another time to talk about the book. But the one that came out after that is Laura's book, and it's for a heart to come home. I mean, like, come on, man. It's just like the loveliest title. It's just like warm and fantastic. And this is book 5 in the Ancient Songs series. And I love the premise of this series. So if you could tell us a little bit about that as well.
I'm so excited for this book to come out because it is the 5th and final story in my Ancient Songs series. Mm-hmm. The idea behind Ancient Songs is that we have a Scottish bard, and he is telling the tales, and each of the first 4 books is a tale that he tells in a Highland chief's hall to entertain the audience, which are mostly clan members of the chief. And in book 5, we find out why Finlay the Bard has been telling each of these stories. And it's a secret that's been kind of rolling through the series, because the heroine and hero in each book are traveling through time from the 1st century of the Celtic world, and they meet up in each of the stories, and the series ends up in the 14th century. and we find out, they're destined to be together. Their souls are destined to be together. And we find out the secrets in the fifth and final book. And I'm just so excited for
It's a love
readers
that
to
never
have that book.
dies.
Yeah. I had to do a lot of research for the last book because I've never written anything in that time period in Scotland. And it's the Second Wars of Scottish Independence. And a lot of it centers on a battle called the Battle of Neville's Cross. And I lived that battle. Let me tell you, I lived that battle. I did so much research. I feel like I walked there. I feel like I know the depressions in the land and how, and and I think it came out fairly well because even my editor liked it. So I'm just so excited for people to get to the end of this. It's almost like a Celtic cycle of tales. In the old way that the Celts told cycles of tales, where it begins and it winds around and it comes back, like the never-ending knots in the Celtic jewelry and art. So I'm just thrilled, and I'm so grateful to Dragonblade for letting me bring this out and giving me an audience for this kind of book, and for the artwork. Oh my goodness, the artwork for each of the 5 books is
The
just.
cover for this one is just like.
I just cried when I saw them. Because it represented what I was trying to get across for my readers. So I'm thrilled. I'm happy. I'm excited. It comes out tomorrow, and I'll be, doing the takeover and all the good things.
So the day that this airs, if you're listening to this now, Laura's book is out, so you don't have to wait.
Yes.
You could just go grab it right away, and you can pop on over to the readers group and take part in the takeover.
Yes, and if you want to just like binge, start at the first book, dive into the Celtic world, and just make your way through, and you're not going to be disappointed.
Like, isn't that the greatest thing about Kindle Unlimited? Like,
Yes.
I love that I can just, like, if I see something and it interests me a little bit, I can try it. And if I don't like it, I can, move on to something else. But if I do like it, it's like I can just read as fast as I can read, which is not 109 books fast, but it's pretty fast, and I don't have to think about it. Just one to the next one, to the next one, to the next one, and completely immerse yourself in the world. I love it.
Yeah. So if you believe in love that never dies and goes from life to life, this is the series for you.
Oh,
yes.
Oh, that sounds so lovely. That sounds so lovely. Awesome. And do you have plans for what comes next, Laura, or are you taking a little break?
I'm going to take a little break because each of these was almost 90,000 words, and I wrote them in a little over a year. And it's not even the writing, it's the editing, and that part of it does take a toll, but the brain's working. Let's just say the brain's got something on the back burner.
Always.
So, always.
Awesome. Well, the next book that comes out this week is Melissa's book, and it's The Vampire's Guide to Wooing a Scholar. And I love this. Like, I love everything about this series. I love the setup, the premise. I love the titles. I love that you give me all these rich keywordy kind of things that I can use when I'm advertising, and I don't have to work so hard. It's fantastic. So, can you tell us about the book and also about the series, Melissa?
Sure. So, well, thank you for the praise. I'm doing my best to learn. So the Vampire's Guide series, this is the first one, features a family of vampires who have to find their fated mates, or they will suffer something called mate atrophy, which will put them into a coma, and then they will die. So they're all getting to the point where they're starting to suffer these effects, and each one of them is finding out, okay, am I going to find my fated mate? Am I just going to accept death? Obviously they're not, and so forth. So the second book is The Vampire's Guide to Wooing a Scholar, and it is loosely based on Beauty and the Beast, set in the Victorian era. The male lead is the oldest brother, so he's like the lead vampire, Marcus. And 50 years before the story starts, the woman who turned this entire group of vampires into vampires just suddenly abandons them without any warning. And so he is forced to take her place and become cold and ruthless and emotionally distant in order to keep the family together, because they all have these dominant predator traits. So he's the one who has to keep them all together.
Necessary beast.
Yes, exactly. Beauty and the Beast. And even more Beauty and the Beast. 50 years after those events, he is trapped in a Scottish castle because anytime he tries to leave, he suffers crippling panic attacks. So so he's stuck in his castle. The only thing that keeps him sane, other than researching a blood substitute for vampires, because he's a vegetarian, he doesn't like drinking from humans, is his pen pal, who is a scholar in Toronto. One of her letters for one of his publishing companies came across his desk where she was complaining about historical inaccuracies. And so they struck up this scandalous pen pal relationship that, well, I mean, it doesn't really matter to him, but if anyone found out that she was corresponding with this unwed bachelor in Scotland, that would obviously be a huge problem. So in the
vegetarian, you have a vegetarian vampire with a pen pal. I'm like, I was in love before, but now it's like just easy.
Just throwing all the tropes and stuff in there. So anyway, back in Toronto, the scholar, she is obsessed with researching natural disasters. And she has her cousin, who's her only friend, who has followed in the family footsteps, because the family has this history of hunting supernatural creatures. But of course, Winifred finds that completely ridiculous. Like, supernatural creatures aren't real, but whatever, you do your thing, cousin, that's fine. But now the family is pressuring Winifred to marry an appropriate gentleman, and she does not want to. So she writes to her pen pal complaining of it, and he says, hey, I have the perfect solution. I need an assistant. Come over here and marry me, and then I will save you from all of these terrible people that your parents are trying to get you to marry. She accepts the offer. So she comes across the ocean from Canada to Scotland to marry him. And at first, this is fantastic. There's a little bit of attraction. Mm-hmm. They have their own, they'll do their own things. But eventually she gets kind of restless and is like, hey, I would like to go visit natural disaster sites. And that's going to be a problem because he can't leave the castle. So she has to teach him or train him on how to get over these attacks so that they can leave the castle. And then in the meantime, around this, you have the whole family figuring out that, hey, our cousin married a vampire and we're vampire hunters. This is a problem for us. So yeah, there's a whole bunch. Well,
there's no peace anywhere, but there's just no peace anywhere. Oh, but I love the idea of her having to help a vampire get over panic attacks. That's that's just the best. Oh, and how many more books are there in this series, Melissa?
There is one currently planned, and that features the vampire hunter from this book, Felicity, and she gets paired with the third brother, so it's an enemies to lovers type thing.
Oh, fun! It's enemies to lovers on steroids.
Actual enemies. I want to kill you.
Yeah, awesome. Well, it sounds like so much fun, and I've loved watching the books come across my desk because they just look like such a blast. So
awesome. Happy to hear.
Awesome. So we have a little bit of time left, and this week I want to read everything. But I know when I'm listening to your stories, and I can tell the thing that makes me so excited, and then gets your heart just all soft and gooey. I'm wondering, as authors, if you have certain things that do that for you, if there's certain tropes that just make you go, oh, or if there are certain books or movies or things that just, that just grab your heart and squeeze it real tight in a good way, not in a
For me, I love when someone who's different or considered an outsider or an outcast, when they find their perfect person and they find their happily ever after. Yeah. That is my absolute favorite. So in this book, I mentioned the Honeyfield family. They're all kind of outcasts, but because their dad's a baron, they're kind of accepted regardless. Nathaniel was actually raised in America. His mom ran away with him because of, I don't want to give anything away, but because of his dad.
Drama.
So he comes back, and he obviously it's kind of a fish out of water situation. He doesn't really know what's going on. But each book that I write, one or both characters is an outsider for some reason. In the next book, it's an ugly duckling versus beauty kind of thing, and he's a vegetarian. So there's all kinds of little things. That's my favorite, is when someone who's different finds their happily ever after.
Yeah. They're a perfect person who sees them for exactly who they are and loves them for who they are.
Yeah, exactly.
Instead of always trying to Eliza Doolittle it up, Yeah. Awesome.
Well, I'm a little strange. My idea of a romantic song is "Bargain" by the Who, and and I have a little bit of a dark streak. So my idea of what really melts me down is when someone is willing to sacrifice all for their person. And they will unthinkingly give of themselves, or burn every bridge, just to either save that person or to be with that person. It gets me every time.
Yeah, that's when they talk about the hero is willing to go through anything to save the
Yeah.
world, and the villain who loves her is willing to go through anything to save her.
Yeah.
It's just like this that
It always seems to sneak into my books for some reason. So yeah.
awesome.
I think, can I go?
Yeah, go.
I think I like it when the hero's kind of just baseline kind of a guy, and then you find out that like behind closed doors he's like a genuine human being, and you're like, oh, I can't help but love him, like
Oh, the soft
when he
cuddly.
does something that doesn't have to do with the heroine. He's just a good person, individual, like as a whole, and somehow he became that way, or was raised that way, or grew up that way, and he's maybe he's a jerk to most people, but he's actually not. Like what is that, Heart of Gold guy? I like a Heart of Gold. That's my favorite. I'll fall in love every time. So
Yeah, that makes sense. So I think when because I have vampires on the brain now.
Yeah.
Like Bill and Eric. Eric is a jerk, but he gets her gravel, right? Like I'm reading it thinking he got her gravel for her driveway because he saw what had to happen, and he's fixed a problem that and Bill's just like all angsty and all over the place. It's like no.
Yeah, exactly. If you just do the thing
Do
that
the
needs
thing.
to be done, and oh my god, I'll
Love
love
in
you
action.
forever. It's very easy.
Yeah, love in action. Love in action.
Fantastic example. So for me, in historical romance, it's super common to see the female main character be super innocent and naive, especially about like intimacy matters, and then the male character be the one that's leading them through everything. But I personally like it when it is switched, so that the male character is much more naive and the one who falls desperately in love first, and the female character who's the one who's teaching and who's a little more reserved. So in The Vampire's Guide, it's been 50 years since he's been with any woman at all. And although she is untried, innocent, etc., she's still the one who's more like forward, where he's like, I'm a vegetarian. I have all these problems. Please stay away from me.
That sounds like so much fun. And I love that too. I love the idea of a woman with agency who's taking her place in the world. And I think it was Kathleen Ayers who said that the flowering virgins on the daily gets exhausting.
I was just gonna say, a lot of my heroines aren't virgins because I haven't been a virgin in a very long time, and I can't come up. I can't keep writing them. I agree with Melissa. I like when my women have agency and are a little more experienced because I can identify them.
Yeah. Well, and I think there's something about that guilelessness. It's okay if it's authentic, but if it feels like you have to work to maintain that level of lack of knowledge, guileless is the only thing I can think of. Then it's hard to get really into the heroine's point of view, because it's been a long time since I've been guileless about stuff.
I'm just thinking of Bridgerton and the sisters. She goes, insults himself where?
I think I spit out my drink when I saw that the first time. Oh god, those poor girls.
But Bridgerton is a great example. I'm gonna nobody listen. I didn't read the books, but I love I love this series, and I think it's a good example of that. The thing that catches you, it can come dressed in a million different things. Like romance can have tentacles. It can have, a million different things. But the thing that catches us is the thing that grabs your heart and makes you go, yeah, this is why we're here. This is why we do all the things we do. This is why we interact with each other. This is why we don't just hermit ourselves in the woods and live on canned soup. It's because this in between thing is the important part. So speaking of tentacles and everything else, how do you decide it's not really speaking of tentacles. There's no tie-in there. I'm not going to be able to make that tie-in work. How do you decide where you're going to go next? So you've got the feeling, you know what you love, you know what pulls on your heart. How do you decide what's the construct that you're going to tell that story in? Like, how do you decide if it's going to be vampires, or if it's going to be time traveling, or if it's going to be a theater family, or a gaming hall?
I could start. So in my case, I got super duper obsessed with Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and I was watching it all the time, like every single day. I went through it like 4 times, and I so desperately wanted to write a retelling of Spike and Buffy. That's my 3rd book is like Spike and Buffy. That I was like, it has to be vampires. I'm so obsessed with vampires right now. The next book has to be vampires. So that's where it came from.
If you don't follow Melissa on Threads, you need to follow Melissa on Threads so that you can do the Supernatural watch along.
Yes, I had a video go viral about me watching Supernaturals. Now my social media is just full of Supernatural content.
Yeah. Well, I mean, because Supernatural it's just a delight. If you can have monster hunters who like pie, why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you? It's just the best.
I'm trying to think why specifically I went with a theater family. I think they just kind of morphed into that. I danced when I was a kid. My daughter is in ballet now.
Cool.
Yeah. And we used to go to the opera. We lived right in Chicago, so we had the opera house right there. So that was something that I just kind of grew up with. I don't know why I chose. I guess when I think of a goofy, fun-loving, sort of wild family, I guess being a theater family would kind of go into that a little bit, I guess.
Yeah, that makes sense that you could push the limits, and there's a certain respectability that goes along because people like the theater, so that they get a little bit of extra acceptance.
I really wanted to write a scene in an opera house, which I did succeed doing in book 2, so I was happy about that.
Fantastic. I wanted to be a dancer so much, but I've been a hobbit my whole entire life. Like my mom said, we can go if you want to, but she could see where it was going to have, like she knew where we were going to end up. And the first one, I'm like, so I think that's lovely. So, awesome.
And I think I'm not working on a new series yet. I will eventually this year, probably in the fall, but I've been kicking around a story that is just post-Victorian or right at the end of the Victorian era. It's right at the end of the Victorian era. And it revolves around British steel and Carnegie steel and stuff like that, because my husband's an iron worker. So I'm constantly trying to shove him into a book. Yeah. And he was like, I'm not a duke. And I'm like, I'm going to figure it out one day. And I figured it out. So I've got it outlined, and it's waiting for me in September probably, because I've got things to finish. So.
Oh, but that sounds like fun, and I can see how you would get the core of the idea and then just build the story around it.
Yeah, I can figure out how refineries work, because he's just yabbing in my ear about stuff. I'm like, but yeah, I'm gonna steal his life and put it into a book. So.
Well, yeah, because
that's why I'm married.
Why else do you get married and have kids?
Exactly.
Material.
Yeah.
What about you, Laura?
Well, for me, there's usually some strange trigger that just kind of blooms in my head. For Ancient Songs, I was sitting outside with the dog, and there is a song that Finlay sings. You get a verse of it for each of the books. And the first verse just started to write itself in my head. So I ran to the car, got a scrap of paper, and jotted it all down so I wouldn't forget. So now everything else kind of came from there.
Yeah, that's interesting. Elizabeth Gilbert talks about in Big Magic, I think it is, where she talks about the ideas that go past artists and authors and musicians, and you grab them from out of the air.
The author, Sir Terry Pratchett, who is one of my favorite authors, said that the ideas come from outer space and they rain down all the time, and some of them hit. Yeah. And those are the ones that you just absorb and it go, you go with those
ideas. Such a good metaphor.
Isn't it? Oh, I adore him. Yeah. Just love his work.
Awesome.
But it's so true. Sometimes you can feel them hit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And there was also there's also that idea of if I can't pay attention to it right now, Matilda, what you were saying about getting to it in the fall, if I can't pay attention to it right now, sometimes I tell it, I still want you.
Yeah.
Like, I still really want you.
Mhm.
They're like planes circling the
Mhm.
airport, and
Yeah.
they're waiting for their chance to take
Don't
off.
find another air traffic controller. I'm
Yeah.
your runway, baby. I'm here. It's like,
Exactly.
I promise I will get there. So
Yep.
awesome. Ladies, this was a delight. I always love recording days, but this was exceptional. It's great to get to talk to all of you, and I really appreciate you
thank
sharing
you.
your stories with us. I want all of them this week, and you know what? Because it's Kindle Unlimited, I can have them, and I don't have to stop myself. So I will make sure to put the links in the comments so that you can have them as well, and we'll pop Erin's book in too, so you don't miss the Winter's Murder, because like slow burn medieval romance, like this. Why not? It's like perfect. So, and we'll also make sure that as the Lion's Den Kickstarter comes out, we'll start to tease out the graphics so you don't miss that either.
Very excited about that.
Ladies, thanks so much for taking the time. I really do appreciate it.